Welcome to the official podcast for the Sirens Women's Motorcycle Club in New York City. This podcast was born out of a need to preserve, honor, and actively remember our current and former members of our club. Created by Siren members, our podcast episodes are meant for archival purposes and as a result are unfiltered and uncut. The only edits that have been made have been done so at the request of the interviewee. If you are new to our club or to our Herstory, get out some motorcycle tools, work on your bike, and enjoy listening to the stories of those who have come before us. May these stories of the past offer you a measure of comfort and courage as you move toward the future. If you would like to find out more about our club, please visit sirensnyc.org. This podcast was produced by Alex Shea, road name T-Rex, Siren member and Siren media coordinator. The interviewer is Caro Caden, Sirens volunteer archivist and coordinator at the Lesbian Herstory Archives. The sound designer is MJ Phillips, Siren Pledge.
Okay, today is February 21st. That's right. February 21st, 2026. Included the year this time. And I am here with
Jerry Foster-Julian and Gigi Foster-Julian.
And I am Caro Caden. My pronouns are they, them. I am a coordinator at the Lesbian Herstory Archives and the Sirens Volunteer Archivist. And we are recording y'all's oral herstories today. I'm so thrilled, so excited that you're both here to record. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You want to start?
Sure. Motorcycling was never in my family. And when I went off to college in 1960, because I graduated high school in 60, I was up in New Hampshire, and some guy came riding by Main Street on a motorcycle, and I flagged him down, and I said, I want to ride. So he took me for a little ride down into the town, dropped me off. And when I finished, and I graduated, and I came back, and I first year I was working, I was teaching at Concord High School, and I taught there for a year. And then I decided to come back to Long Island, to home where my parents are and my family's here. And my brother, who was 6 years younger than me, had joined the Air Force, and it was at the time of Vietnam. And he sent a motorcycle home from the Midwest where he had been trained, and he sent this motorcycle home. And before he left, I said, if I get it registered and insured, can I drive it? And he said, sure. It was a BSA. Unbeknownst to me, it's different than what we're used to. But I knew how to shift a car, so it was just a matter of figuring it out. I taught myself to ride. I got my license on it. And he came home from the war. He was one of the lucky ones. Sold the motorcycle. And I said, oh my God, I can't be without a motorcycle. This was the end of the 60s. And so I bought a used Honda, and I never looked back. And I just sold my last bikes about 2 years ago.
Wow.
But I've ridden over 1 million miles, and I'm here to talk about it.
So would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I came to this game late, I think. I didn't get a motorcycle till I was almost 30. We had mini bikes, like my neighbor had a mini bike, and I got on a mini bike, and her father had a motorcycle, and he put us on the back of that motorcycle. And so it was in my sphere, but I was in New York, and I was poor as a church mouse, and all I was trying to do was make rent. And I was working at Roundabout, Union Square, as master electrician, and my stage manager had a motorcycle. She had a Yamaha 750 or something. And she said, you should get a motorcycle. I said, why? She said, because I have one, and we can go ride together. We can be the Roundabout riders, because our tech director had a motorcycle. And I just happened to have been dating a woman from upstate who had a little Kawasaki 440. And she was selling it just at that moment. I don't know why. I think I called her to find out if she wanted to sell it, because Kathy said, you need a motorcycle. So my stage manager told me I needed a motorcycle, so okay. And coincidentally, my mother had passed just that summer, so I came with a little bit of money from her. I thought, I'm gonna do this. And Mary said, yes, I'm selling my bike. You are? I want to buy it. Now, she had put me on that motorcycle, rode me around, and even then, I knew nothing. But we were going down a hill, and she had her brakes on. And I thought, go, go! It was innate in me, because I was a bicycle rider. So the faster you went down a hill, the more fun it was.
Yeah.
She had her brakes on. I thought. But I bought the motorcycle, kept it upstate, because I had nowhere to keep it. Couldn't get it down to New York. I didn't even ride it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, I've got to learn to ride it. So I went to Traumas. I looked up in the Yellow Pages or the Village Voice or something, and Traumas offered private lessons. I thought, well, it's only here. I mean, it's not very far away from me because I was in Metropolitan Avenue. So it was just down in, where were they? They were down in Woodhaven. So it really wasn't very far away. So I thought, okay. So I go over, and who do they hand me as a instructor? Lori Tao.
And she's the one who designed.
She designed this.
Logo.
She was an original Siren. And we took a shine to each other. We dated, I guess you could say. But she was so adorable that she could have told me to do anything. I didn't care. And I learned, Lori taught me. And she said, but you really need to go to the Gay and Lesbian Center. I said, I do? She said, yes, because the Sirens are there. Okay. And I was working full time. So Tuesday nights were kind of difficult for me. And I think there was like one Tuesday night in one month, that I kind of went in, I sort of snuck in because I was terrified. Mm-hmm. And who comes walking up to me but Gigi? Jackie and Gigi come over, welcome me with open arms, and that was like the rest is history. Because I stopped doing my master electrician job and I had more free time now. Mm-hmm. So I became like safety captain for a while. Then the next year I was the I worked my way up the ranks. Mm-hmm. But it was all because my stage manager said, you need a motorcycle.
You got to follow what your stage manager says.
That's right. I honestly,
that's
best. She could have told me I needed to get an airplane and I probably would have done it because she wanted me to do it. And I adored her. So, okay, she could not leave me wrong. Mm-hmm. And she didn't.
Right.
And coincidentally, it's very fortuitous because if I had said no, this wouldn't be happening. Mm. Because that's who I met because I had a motorcycle.
Yes. That's who I met because I had a motorcycle.
We would not have met. We would not have been in the same atmosphere together.
And what's interesting is when I wanted to join the Sirens, I had been riding for over 20 years, and now I was on a big Honda Goldwing. Mm. And it was an interstate. And they said, have you ever taken a class? I said, no. I mean, I've been riding for 20 years. What did I need to take a class for? Well, you have to take a class. So I went to Traumas, and the very first exercise, I went to myself, oh my God, I don't know anything.
She had no idea.
No idea. And I was so impressed with what I learned there that when I decided to become a motorcycle instructor, I worked for Traumas for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. I was getting teary-eyed when you both said, without motorcycles, we wouldn't
be here.
Yeah,
that's right.
We wouldn't have. There would be no possible way we would have met.
No, I was a teacher and she was in theater in Manhattan.
If I hadn't said yes, I'd probably still be in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Trying to make a living as a theater technician. Mm-hmm. But it just was one of those.
High school teacher.
One of those moments. you know. And Jerry very well might have met the Sirens because she probably would have gotten him on the motorcycle thing. Because she had one before I even thought about riding. Right. So she very well might have been with you all in that, if you take it that way, but I wouldn't have been. I would have been, you know, dancing in Studio 54 still or something. You know, right. I wouldn't be anywhere near you all. But it was just that fortuitousness of even Ramapo. I think I would have met Jerry if we didn't do Ramapo, because she knew Cindy and Denise, and she knew kind of Jackie and Gigi. And I would have met her within that summer, probably. It just all sort of came together.
Yeah. And can we go back to when you first started riding? You said you were in your 30s, correct? Yeah. Do you remember how old you were when you first started riding?
I started riding I was like 31 or 32.
Got it. And how about you?
I was about 28.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were a little bit older.
There's 16 years difference between us. Stop and think about it. I was in high school. She was born.
You know, one of her people...
My trophy wife.
Yes.
Here I am. And one of the people at one of her reunions looked at me. I'd been talking to him all night. And he looked at me and goes, you know, you really have aged so much better than everybody else here.
You're like, I have a secret that no one knows.
I said, honestly, I was 2 years old when you graduated. No.
Yeah. Like, please don't think I'm the same age as you. On that note, are you comfortable sharing your age? How old you are?
Sure. I'm going to be 84.
Amazing.
Just turned 67.
Oh my God, when did you turn 67?
December.
Okay, cool. Are you Capricorn?
Sagittarius.
Nice.
Libra.
Well balanced.
Oh yeah. Fire and air.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, cool. So that's how old y'all are. And you talked about what bikes you started on. Could you go through what bikes you've ridden in your time?
She has many more than I have.
Yeah. What bikes did you ride?
You started with the Honda, right?
I started my Honda, and I was riding, at the time I lived in Hempstead, and I was riding on Hempstead Turnpike, and it was in the summer. I had on a tank top. I was cruising along, having a wonderful time, and two guys in a pickup truck were riding near me, and he had his window down, and he kept looking over, and I looked over, and we smiled at each other and everything, and he said, "Get a real bike. Get a Harley." And at this point, I'd been riding long enough to know about Harleys, but we're talking early 70s, mid 70s. And I happened to look down, and my left breast is hanging out because I was in a tank top on my motorcycle. So I pulled it back up, smiled, and I said, "Thank you." And I went over to a Harley dealership on the South Shore. I can't remember where the name of the town. But I went over there, and women simply did not ride motorcycles. They sat on the back of motorcycles. So I picked out a Sportster, and I asked him how much he'd give me for my bike, and he told me, and I said, "You know what, Brooks, you sit down." "Yeah, I want one." So I bought one, and when I went over to get it, he said, "I'm really nervous about this." He said, "Don't get out on the road." He said, "Take the parking lot and just cross over the next road. There's parking lots all the way down, and then come back." I did that, and I came back, no problem. Came back, and I had my Harley. Then I ended up, at the time I was involved with someone else, and she said to me she was not comfortable on it. So I figured, well, okay, maybe I should get a new seat. So I went over to a Harley dealership over here at a different place, and they had a really nice cruiser there. And I said, "Oh, can I sit on it?" He said, "Yeah." So I sat on it. He said, "You want to take it for a ride?" And I said, "You can do that?" And he said, "That's why we have it here. You can test drive it." So I didn't want anything to happen to it. So I took it for a ride down the street about 4 blocks, turned around and came back. I said to him, "How much will you give me for my bike, my Sportster?" And he told me, and I said, "Fine." I said, "This is Wednesday." I said, "Tell you what, I want the bike on Friday." He said, "Okay." I said, "I'll leave my bike with you." So I left my sportster there and I went up, hitchhiked home. And then I went back and picked up that. So I had that one. And then I had...
That was a Super Glide, right? The second one?
Yeah, it was a Super Glide. And you have to pick... No, that's a Honda.
Yeah.
And then I went back to... I found Hondas, and they're really reliable.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up buying the Honda.
You had a couple of gold wings, too. You had the silver.
I had gold wings, and I'd gotten rid of those. And I used to... I taught school. And on Parents' Night, they were in the gym, and I was talking about something. And any questions? And a hand goes up in the crowd. I said, yes. He said, are you still riding your Harley? Because here I was, the end of the 60s, the beginning of the 70s, and I was a woman, and I was riding my Harley
to school.
A very conservative school, and parking and then taking my leathers off and put my helmet down on, taking. He said, I used to watch that Harley out in the parking lot, make sure nobody touched it.
And it was a father of one of her, it was like...
He was a parent of one of the kids that I had.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I had the Harleys, and then
You went to Gold Wings.
I had the gold wings, and...
Then you got the Honda
I had
Shadow.
I got that bike I bought on the side of the road. Some guy was selling it. Remember
you had
that?
a Shadow.
Yeah, but there was one bike, was it Yamaha?
No, it was, we had
It was loud.
Yeah, we had a red, we called it the red chili pepper.
A chili pepper.
And
he had like no
baffles in it. He
so
wanted
the thing
to sound
would
like a Harley.
roar. I'd go down through the town of Huntington, and I'd set off all the car alarms. I said, this has got to go.
Well, we were with the Sirens when we had that, and we were in Huntington, and I think it was Mickey, one of our past members, came up next to me. I was on this red, fabulous little cruiser, and she came over and she revved my engine, and all the car alarms. Oh my God! I was like, let's get me out of here, please. We used to have to walk it out of the garage to the end of the road where we started it
because I didn't want to wake the neighbors up in the morning.
Then we finally got new mufflers on it because it was a little stupid that we were doing this. But then you had the Shadow.
Yeah, but then I went to BMWs.
But then we found a BMW. We were at the motorcycle show, and the BMW dealer here had bikes showing, and we got on this R11, and we were like, oh my God, we can touch ground. The first BMW we were ever able to touch ground on, because they're all so tall.
Right.
And he said, come on down to the dealership. We'll let you have a test drive. So by the end of the summer,
we went down there. Gigi went out for a test drive, and she came back, and I've been standing out front with the dealer, and she came back and she said to me, it's like nothing you've ever ridden before. She said, you know how a cat shakes its body when it gets ready to charge? I said, yeah. She said, this bike does the same thing. So I get on the bike and off I go.
And he got nervous because she was out having a good time. And it was a little misty. He's looking. I said, here she comes. She came up and she opened up her helmet. She looked at me. She goes, do we have to discuss this? I said, I don't think so. She turned to me. She goes, I want an 1100. I want it in red, and I want it by Friday. He went, fine. I know where you live. Go. So we bought, I think, 3 bikes from him. I had bikes at that moment that I sold for the BMW, but you went to BMWs.
And then my last bikes that I've had are BMWs.
Yeah. Once you get one,
there's no going back.
I changed, but I didn't. It was such a good bike. It made my bikes look like trash. It was such a nice bike. They are lovely. They're very steady. They're very smooth.
And they're quiet.
They're very quiet.
And somebody said, all the Harleys are the really loud ones and everything. And everybody said, don't you want to make all that sound? I said, no. I want to be there and gone before they even know I've been there. I said, where does your horn face. What direction? They said, forward. I said, exactly. So when you're behind a car and you put on your horn, they don't know where you're coming from.
Hmm.
Or it was facing the other direction. I can't remember now. But I said, and besides, if you're next to them and you really make a lot of noise, they might get nervous and turn to look and swerve into you and hit you. I said, I want to be there and going. And they said, oh, what was that? Oh, it's a BMW.
So there was one point we had 5 motorcycles in our garage between us. I think
I have choices.
We had choices.
Yeah.
Plus 2 cars, 5 bikes. I started with that 440 Cowie, which was indestructible. It was a great bike.
Nice.
It had the king and queen seat. My first Pride was on that in 91, I guess. 91. Then I went to a 750 Virago, which I thought was the most fabulous motorcycle ever. It was beautiful. It fit me. It was perfect. Then I crashed that one up, fixed it, and then sold it. We fixed it. Took us.
We spent the winter.
We spent the winter into the spring fixing the bike. It was just front end damage. I hit a car.
She hit a car and she bent his axle.
I hit a car. I was fine. Maybe I walk a little funny, but I was fine. And Amirian,
yes,
helped us. He talked us through fixing it. He said, have them check if the frame is bent. The frame is bent, trash it. It's not, just unbolt everything. Just
And
drop
replace it.
and replace it.
We did that.
I think I replaced virtually everything on that bike because I was getting it from a Kawasaki Yamaha dealer in Illinois for half the price I could get it here.
But the interesting thing is when we decided to go cross country, we made a stop
At that dealership.
At that dealership.
And I would send him pictures of the process.
Yeah, like building it out.
This is what this week. Okay, look, I replaced that. This is what it looks like. He had all of them on front of his desk, so he showed us. And I actually then sold that bike, and Jerry, we got a 1100 Virago to go cross country. My 750 wouldn't have been comfortable.
Yeah.
And she had the BMW. She had 1100 BMW. So we did a cross country we did 21 days and 8,300 miles or something. We went there and back. From the Virago, we discovered the BMWs. And I think I had 2. I had 2 1100Rs. One that was older than the other. One that was older and it ended up having an issue that I didn't trust it after that. So there was a woman in the Violators who was selling one. So I bought that one. Just it was newer. So I had that one for a bit.
Nice.
And then we were at a motorcycle show and I discovered my Aprilia Mana, which is an automatic.
You don't have to shift.
I had to Pride. I would get to the point on Pride that by the time I got to 14th Street, I couldn't pull the clutch in at all anymore. And I was doing this. And at one point, I handed it over to Kelly or somebody who was a Siren who could ride. I said, you take it the rest of the way. I'll marshal. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So I was tired. It was a very hard pull on the clutch. Very hard pull. And I have little hands. And it was hard. And I couldn't get anyone to fix that. Nobody wanted to touch it. So I found this Mana perfect. It was a scooter engine motorcycle inside a motorcycle. Perfect motorcycle. We were doing Pride that next year, and Helene's next to me, and she looks at me, and she's like, and I looked at her and I went, she's like, bitch, like screaming at me, because I'm just like, okay. And, because it made life easier.
Yes.
I sold both of the BMWs in the same day. Guys were coming over from Connecticut. I could have sold hers. I had another guy waiting for this bike. The BMW Riders Club over in Connecticut. But yeah, and I went to the Aprilia and I just sold that finally. So I had that. It was a 2009. I had it till this past winter. this past year, I sold it. And it was a great bike, and Jerry's like, God, I hate this traffic. I said, traffic? What traffic? I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not clutching, shifting, nothing, I'm good.
Mhm.
So that was it. And I sold. I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done. I have a neck issue.
Yeah.
I can't, the weight of the helmet hurts.
Mhm.
I hit a bump and I truly can't, I scream.
I
So,
was in a middle of a motorcycle class in the summer. Not the middle, I was at the introduction. And I was standing in the parking lot telling the students what to expect with this class. The other instructor was setting up the motorcycles. And I said to them, I feel dizzy. And I didn't want to fall down on the cement. On the cement. So I stepped up onto the grass. I said, I feel sick to my stomach, and I started to throw up.
Oh my God.
And they said, get in the shade, get in the shade. And I said, I'm going to hang on to the fence. And I opened my eyes and I was on the ground. I had passed out. I had never passed out in my life. The instructor came over. He said, an ambulance is on the way. I said, fine. I said, you take them. So he took the rest of the class. The ambulance came. The EMTs did their thing. And she was packing up her stuff. And she said, you have a heart murmur, a heart miss. Your heart's missing. Yeah, it's not a steady thing. She said, do you want to go to a hospital? I said, no, I can't leave him with 12 students. It's not legal. I said, we have somebody coming when they get here. So they packed up and they left. And when the other guy came, he was the head of the company. He came and I got in the car and drove home. And Gigi says to me, what are you doing home?
I had no idea.
And I said, well, must have been really hot. And so I passed out. And she said, we're going across the street to the medical center. And we did. And the next thing you know, I have 4 stents in my heart.
Yeah.
And ever since, I've been on medication, heart medication.
Mhm.
And I thought, maybe riding a motorcycle isn't the best thing to do.
Mhm.
I feel okay.
Yeah.
Better safe than sorry. And
Oh,
also,
yes.
on Long Island, I know that it's difficult everywhere, but I've been kind of keeping track of it. From spring to fall, every week another motorcycle is killed.
Yeah.
We lose one every week here. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to be that statistic.
Right.
I'm done. We've done it. I've done 35 years of riding. I'm done.
And I've done over 50.
I mean,
Wow.
she's on her scooter every so often. It's not, like she goes out early morning, comes back for noon. We're done, and it was a great run. We had fun. We went everywhere.
Yes.
We did everything.
Our life
It was literally our lives.
is what we did.
Mhm.
It's what we did.
I'd come home from work, we'd get ready, on the weekend, we'd go ride. Meet the club, go ride. Come back. We'd go, 300 miles for lunch?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just for
Yeah.
lunch.
We go to Catskills for lunch.
Yeah, just for lunch. The Ramapo we met at, they took us, I don't know if you've done a Ramapo or any of you have done the Ramapo. It's pretty fun. But they took us from Tuxedo, New York. We had lunch up in Windham, New York,
Mhm.
and we slept in Pennsylvania. So, so it
And
was,
sometimes you go into a place and you say, what state am I in?
where am I?
have no idea.
Where
We're
are
just
we?
following directions.
We had no idea.
But great fun.
Yeah.
Great fun.
So, what are some of your favorite memories from riding?
Sirens riding? Any riding.
If you want, you could talk about both separately. Yeah, whatever you're feeling.
I love animals.
Mhm.
I always wanted to go to Africa. I was online with a motorcycle group. I'd never met any of these people. And I mentioned, we're planning on going to Africa. And somebody responded to that and said, you'll like what we do. It was a woman. And I contacted her online and asked her, where are you? She said, Johannesburg. I said, we are coming in early to Johannesburg, a day early. I would like to meet you. gave me her phone number. We got settled in Johannesburg at our motel. Called her up. She came over and she said, "What do you want to do?" Her name was Sandy. She has since passed away. And she said, I said, "We thought we'd do the on again, off again bus in Johannesburg." She said, "We don't have that." I said, "I want to go to the Lion Park." So we went to the Lion Park, and I looked it up and I knew what was going on there. And I said, "Sandy, we're going to walk with the lions and then we're going to walk with the cheetah. Come on with us." And she said, "No, that's all right. I'll meet you in the cafeteria. I've got my laptop." So we walked with the lions. We walked with the cheetah. We met up with Sandy. She drove us back. We stopped in another place. And then she drove us back. And I stayed in contact with her. That was a fantastic trip. It was down from Johannesburg down to Cape Town and then back along the Garden Route. I said to Gigi, "Oh, it includes going cage diving with the great white sharks."
And I said, "I don't have to do that too, do I?" I wasn't looking forward to that. She said, "Oh, no. You get to stay on the boat. Because you know why?" I said, "Why?" She goes, "Because somebody has to be alive to bring the body back." I said, "Oh, that will be my job." Okay. So I'm up on the boat being the videographer and the photographer, and I'm looking behind me thinking there's another one coming, but they were 15-foot great whites. I mean, they were huge. And she was just in a cage hanging off the side.
And I reached out and tried to touch it as it went by. And then I saw the sign that said, "Keep your hands inside." I said, "Oh, well."
So she was like videoing it as she did it. You see her hand reach out and the thing went by.
We did with a group called IMT Bike. We signed up for a tour. I had an incident with another rider on almost the last day.
It was a bit of a
It was a little
bit of a thing.
And we don't have to go into that. And I said, "I'll never go back with this company again." So we went with another company.
We did Edelweiss. For 5 years.
We did tours almost every year with Edelweiss. And then I met the CEO of IMT, and he said to me, "Why didn't you come back? Why haven't you been back?" I didn't really want to tell him.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Oh, Edelweiss points." "What are Edelweiss points?" So I said, "It's when you get points for your credit card, and then you can use." I said, he said, "Oh, I've been thinking about doing that. I'll grandfather clause you in."
So we went, and we never looked back. They were wonderful.
We did 9 tours with that company.
Mm-hmm.
Well over $100,000 worth of touring.
We did in 20 years. We did probably, we did one with them every year.
We did a Tuscany Provence tour with them. Now they're Spanish, and the tour starts in Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to Barcelona, we get picked up, we meet everybody else at dinner. The next day we get our motorcycles, we ride around Barcelona, and we end up putting the motorcycles on an overnight ferry boat to Italy, and we all have rooms. So we get to Italy, and we work our way back through northern Italy, and then through southern France, and over the Pyrenees, and back to Barcelona. We get back. The CEO, his name is Scott Moreno, meets everybody for dinner the last night, and he said, "Does anybody have any suggestions?" And Gigi says,
I said, "Scott, it was a great tour. It was lovely. I got to see things I've never seen before. But I really was angry when we got to Italy because I didn't come here to be on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be on my motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you turn it around? Why don't you go over the land first, get to Italy, then take the boat back?
Mm-hmm.
The end of the tour, you can relax, you can hang out." I said, "I think it would make so much more sense because I would have liked that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like being on the boat."
Did that.
He tried it out.
He reversed the tour. 18 days. Reversed the tour. And he came back and he said it added 2 days of riding time to our tour.
Wow.
So now it's the Provence Tuscany tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, "Scott, how did you get involved in this?" And he said, I said, where are you from anyway? And he looked at me, he said, Queens, New York. I said, Queens? Long Island? He said, yes. I said, how did you end up doing this? And he said, he was doing a semester abroad when he was in college. He said, I got off the plane in Madrid, said I'm home. He said, I married a woman whose family is has vineyards and whatnot. He said, I love to ride a motorcycle. He said, so I started this tour company.
But we did do 9 tours with them.
We did 9 tours with them.
And it was lovely. It was a good thing. Every year we find another tour.
Mm-hmm.
We did a couple other tour companies in there. So in 20 years,
we did Croatia.
We did 16 tours in 20
We
years.
did New Zealand.
Yeah. With Edelweiss, we did New Zealand. We did Croatia with Adriatic. We did
We did South Africa with Due South.
We did South Africa, and we did a 10-day motorcycle tour, which was 5 countries with Blue Rim tours.
Mm-hmm.
So we started in Germany, went through Austria, into Slovenia, into Italy, into Switzerland, and back up in 10 days.
We've done Corsica, Sardinia.
Yeah, we've done a lot. We did a lot of European.
Where were some of your favorite places to ride and why? Like
The roads, I was going to tell you, IMT has some of the best ways. The roads are fantastic.
Mhm.
And the nice thing is, I realized that driving is a team sport. In Europe, cars move over and let you pass them. They'll wave you on. And it's like we're all on the same team. In this country, it's everybody out for themselves. It's like if you have 10 cars out there, that's 10 different teams, and nobody's helping anybody. And that's the difference. So riding in Europe is a pleasure. And a lot of people, Europeans, are brought up with motorcycles and scooters in their lives.
You know, we get to a stoplight, the very few, and especially in the cities.
Because there's all roundabouts.
But they would expect all the scooters and the motorcycles
To
to get
go.
in front of them. They'd let them all get in front. So like a bunch of busy bees, when the light went,
Zoom, off they
went.
go.
And they weren't in anybody's way. They were just off doing. Your favorite, I think, was what? South Africa. That was your favorite tour.
Only because of the lions and
Yeah,
scuba
all because
diving
you're animals.
and- yeah.
I think I liked.
I liked Morocco too when I had the 5-foot cobra around my neck and I petted the back of his hood.
She did. So did I. She did. I think mine was Corsica and Sardinia because the roads.
Oh,
just
the
like
roads
this.
are fantastic.
The roads was just, and Portugal. Portugal's fabulous.
Yeah.
But-
We met a couple in Corsica, in Adriatic.
We met
Bobby
them
and Carl.
in Croatia.
We met them
and
in Croatia. We became travel friends. They're from New Jersey. And they said, where are you going next? And I said, yada, yada. And they said, we'll go too. And this happened for years. And then he said, where are you going next? I said, I want to see southern Portugal. And he said, there's nothing there. I said, but I haven't seen the nothing. I want to go see the nothing. So the IMT had for the Best of Portugal tour, and it was 10 days. So I sent him the tour, and he said, it's not long enough. I said, well, I'll take care of that. And I contacted the tour guide, Martine, and I said, Martine, it's not long enough. We have the Best of Portugal. And he said, fine. He added another, he said, I got time. He added another 5 days on. He said, we'll call it the Best of Portugal and more, because now it's a custom tour.
Ooh.
We signed up. A couple that we had met from Maryland, they signed up. A couple that we met from Venezuela, they signed up. I'm still in contact with these people years later. A guy from Brazil, he signed up. A couple from New Jersey, our New Jersey friends, they signed up.
So we had 13 people that were just
And everybody knew
each other.
everybody else.
So it was fun. It was a good tour. It was a really good tour. But we didn't have a bad tour. I don't think we've had a bad moment. We got through all of them. Though in South Africa, I did fall over. I was so tired. It's left-hand drive. So that's something.
Yeah.
And we were making a turn to go up a hill to go to a hotel. And I was so tired because we hadn't had a break and I was exhausted. And I said, oh, and instead of going that way, looking up that way to go, I kind of looked this way. I kind of went in and went at an angle and thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to get away from the curb. So when I get to the curb, I thought this. When I get to the curb, I'll stop and I'll back up and I'll just go because I realized I was like, I couldn't even think straight. So I got to the curb and I thought, okay. And I put this foot down and it was downhill.
Oh.
Went over, I rolled.
No.
The bike, I did it purposely. I was so relaxed. I was so tired.
Yeah.
I rolled and the bike and Jerry's screaming because we have communication. Gigi fell over. And I'm like, and I'm laying there and everybody goes, are you all right? I said, I just needed to lay down. I was so tired. I just needed to lay down.
There were only 4 of us on the South African tour.
So it was a tiny tour and I was so tired. I was like, I just wanted to lay down. It's okay. I'm good. And I think that was the only time I fell over, except I hit a thing of gravel. They didn't like tar anything. They kind of threw piles of gravel. And everybody else pulled into this parking lot. And I was back here and I pulled in, tires sunk into gravel and I went, Artie Johnson, boom, over. I was like, what the hell? But
we were in New Zealand on a tour. We did the South Island, we did the North Island. And on that tour, how many accidents were there?
well, not to get into a lot of detail,
I
but
know.
we had 21 bikes. 7 of them went down.
Oh,
That's a third.
One guy left his leg
One guy left his leg in New Zealand.
in New Zealand.
So it was, we weren't riding with them. We'd get to the hotel and every night there'd be another story. And we would ride on our own.
We knew where we were going.
We
had a
just,
map.
there's only 5 roads. We wouldn't get lost. So that was the most accident-ridden one.
Oh my goodness.
But we weren't in it. We were off doing our own thing. I think everybody thinks the faster you go, the more fun you'll have. Well, it's
It's a ride, not a race.
I want to see something. We always just we're in the back. We're just lollygagging along. We got the van behind us.
We'll get there.
We're, people going by us. We don't care, because I don't really want to be part of whatever's going to happen up there. I know I can't keep up with them. I don't want to. I think it really just is like, oh, there's Gigi and Jerry. They're in the back somewhere. And we got there just when everybody else, maybe a minute.
Right.
Even with Siren rides, we would be in the back.
I'm perfectly happy in the back.
There was a time when we were like right up front because I was trip captain and Jerry was safety captain. And I remember thinking as trip captain, I spent more time looking in my mirror to make sure everybody was behind me than I did looking forward. I was like making sure I didn't lose anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was early days though. We did that. And I think we started riding in Europe in the 2000s,
Very cool.
right after 9/11. We booked a Greek tour. We went to Greece.
We did Southern Greece.
And then we did the Pyrenees.
And it was just the 2 of us in
Yeah.
Southern Greece with the tour guide and his wife.
So
it
we did the
beautiful?
Pyrenees and then we did all the Edelweiss ones. So we started seeing, in 1999, Jerry and I rented 2 motorcycles in Switzerland and camped.
Fun.
In 13 days, it rained 11.
Oh.
And it's all Helene's fault because she and Landis had done it. They took their bikes over because they were going to be there
They
3
shipped
weeks.
them on the airplane with them.
They were going to be there 3
Carry
weeks.
on.
And they had it all mapped out. And they were going to do all these.
Alpine passes.
They were doing all these passes. And we thought, oh, we can do that too. And actually, they ended up getting the first Sirens International Stupid Dump Award. Probably once and only. But it was the International Stupid Dump Award because they came back and they said that one of the last passes they did was a ski lift.
They didn't realize it was a ski lift.
They were under a ski lift. They were in the gravel going up a hill doing this. And Lynn, God bless her little buttons, said, I don't know what I'm doing. And she
I can't do
stopped
this.
and put her brakes on and went backwards and fell over. And Helene's behind her going, no, don't do that. And so then Helene had to stop and she fell over.
Oh.
So stupid dump, international double stupid dump. So then she went over to her and said, "Are you crying?" She goes, "Yes, I'm crying." She goes, "Come on." Got her bike, took it down, went down, picked up her bike, took it down. And I thought, international stupid dump. I'd tell you. But then but we thought we could do it too. They did it. We had a book. So, but no one told us it was going to rain. It was July.
Okay.
We thought we were good. It rained. And we did make it. And I remember writing Helene a little email in an internet cafe back when they had those. AOL, "Dear Helene, we have been here 11 days of rain."
In our tent.
And our tent. And we came back and she was like, "Holy God." I said, "Yeah." But honestly, we had no right to be there.
We did, and we survived, and we're here to talk about it.
But going forward in our lives, we got the experience. We learned how to do hairpins right way. We had no idea. We didn't have hairpins
I
here.
had no idea what we were getting into. You live on Long Island. It's flat, for God's sake, for the most part.
In the retrospect, I look back and I go, what were we thinking? We were terrified, but we did it. We didn't fall over. In the rain, we never fell over. That was like a notch on our belt.
And when we got the bikes back, and the girl was laughing behind the desk, I said, "What are you laughing at?" She said, "I want a bet." I said, "You want a bet?" She said, "Yeah. The two guys in the back who set up those motorcycles for you to take off. They said, we only asked for one set of hard luggage on the bikes."
And two women. They thought
and two women. And they said, "There's no way they're gonna want more that." And she said, "No, they're not." And we didn't, because we had the same bikes here, and that's what we were riding, and we knew what we needed.
Right.
And we had it all
so
set up.
So she won a bet.
But that was an experience, and that was fun. And because at that motorcycle festival where Jerry and I were in 92, we were watching Denny Boyer, who was an instructor from Jersey. She was showing us her Swiss photos. And I looked at those roads and I said to Jerry, "I want to do that someday." And she went, "You will. We will." And fast forward 5 years, 6 years, we went and did it. So it was like a little dream to get there. But I had no idea. No bloody idea what I was supposed to be doing. I had no idea. I just know outside, inside, outside. That's all I knew.
I want to hear about how y'all met, what your first impression was of each other, and just that story of meeting at Ramapo in 1992, you said? Yeah.
First of all, I was coming out of a 25-year relationship. I won't go into that. But I joined a gym. I went to the gym twice a day, including holidays. I went at 6 o'clock in the morning, worked out for an hour and a half, got dressed, went to work, came home, didn't come home, went right from school, right to the gym, worked out in the gym. I was in the best condition I have ever been in my life. And I looked great. And I was a siren.
No, you weren't a siren yet. You were not a siren.
Oh.
You weren't a siren. You hadn't met the sirens yet.
Okay. And go ahead. Oh, I was doing Ramapo, the Ramapo 500 and whatnot. And I mentioned to them about that. And go ahead.
Well, she met Cindy and Denise at Pride that year, 92, and Jackie and Gigi. But they weren't doing Ramapo that year. But Cindy and Denise were going to do it, and another friend was going to do it. And we met. I saw Cindy and Denise at the morning of Ramapo started. Said hello to them, but didn't get introduced to her. Didn't see her. We did the ride. We got to the campground. She was with them, and she looked at me. She didn't even see me. I mean, she didn't know where I was existed. I looked at her, and I thought, "Oh my God, it's the woman of my dreams." Instantly. Didn't even. I think my hormones were raging. Didn't even. I was just convinced.
She was in her early 30s.
Yeah, I was 30.
And I was 48.
3.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, where is she? Where is she? And I talked. We barely talked.
49.
We barely talked. Next morning, I saw her at breakfast, said hello. Off they went. And I said to Casey, who I was with, and her friend Ron, we have to follow them. We have to go now. She's getting away. I was not too excited. So we followed them and we met them at various points. Cindy and Denise and Jerry and Carol were all in front of us, and we met them at various points. So at lunchtime, we pulled in for lunch, and they pulled in after us. I was so excited. Oh my God. So everybody at the table made sure that there was a chair next to me for her. Because I was like, I don't know how I rode that day. I had my sights set on the gorgeous love of my life. I knew she was the love of my life. I just had to convince her.
So we get there, and I come over and I take the empty seat that's next to her.
God help me.
And the waitress comes over and asks for our order, what we would like and whatnot.
Would you want something to drink or something?
And I said thank you, and I said what her name was.
She's like, thank you,
And
Carol.
Carol, and Gigi looked at me and she said, God, you're fast. And I looked at her. Now, I just met her. I just looked at her, and she had a tag on. That said her name. And I looked at Gigi and I said, I can be slow when it counts.
I couldn't walk.
And I'm
I
saying to
couldn't
myself,
breathe.
oh my God, I'm saying to myself, what did I just say? How stupid is this?
I couldn't breathe. I said, I bet. Oh, oh God, I don't make me get up right now. I was like,
So,
really?
We continue on, and at the end of the ride, we Big Apple Rest, which is no longer there. I get there, and she's at
I've been
the
waiting for her.
table with her friends, so I don't know if she's gay or not.
She had no idea who I was
I had
or what
no
I was.
idea, you know.
She had no idea. She didn't really care.
So I stopped and say hi and talk to them because we were all in the ride together. And I mentioned that we were going over to Fire Island. We're going over to Cherry
Next
Grove
weekend.
the next weekend. So
I'm thinking, well, she's saying that to me because they live in New Jersey. She's saying this at me. She's right
I
at me.
didn't know they lived in New Jersey.
She had no idea. So off she went, and off we went. And then I talked two other friends of mine, one from Brooklyn, one from Manhattan, to get on their bikes and go with me to Fire Island because I was absolutely terrified. I had to see this woman. It was the last thing I did in my life. I had to see her, but I didn't want to do it alone because I was just terrified. So we got they were there, and we got like a 1 o'clock ferry. Now, honestly, 1 o'clock ferry. Get to Fire Island. We are in full leather. We're in our chaps, our boots, our helmet, our jackets. We had to bring all that onto the ferry because we didn't want to leave it on the bike. All our stuff would disappear. Our saddlebags. I mean, we walked out onto the beach.
Have you been to Cherry Grove?
Yes.
We walked out onto the beach, schlepping all this stuff onto the beach. Everybody's like naked around us, you know, in barely anything, and we're slogging through the sand. And so they're over there. I find Jackie and Gigi. Dump our shit. Just put it down, get into our shorts, bathing suit, whatever, just strip everything off, and everything was underneath. And she was over here. And I said, I gotta go talk to her. She goes, go, go, go. I said, I don't want. I was so shy and so uncertain. Gigi said, just go. Go, talk to her. And I turned the corner to look at her. She's topless, reading a book. And I was like, look up, G. Don't look down. Look up. What am I going to say? Oh, my God. I had no idea what to say. So I sort of went over and said, hi. She went, hi. Back to her book. I said, what are you reading? Blah, 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 blah. I said, oh, that's nice. And I'm like, now what? I was so terrified. And all of a sudden she turned to me, she goes, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock. Tea dance. And she got up, put her shirt on, and ran. And I said, she went tea. And Gigi said, all right, let's go. And we packed everything up. Kid you not. We packed everything up and schlepped up to the tea dance, dumped it all in the corner. And then I'm standing over here, Jerry's standing over there. And I was like, Gigi's like, go talk to her. I said, I can't. I don't know what to say. Go talk to her. no, go ask her to dance. I can't. I can't. And Gigi just took me and she went, go. And off I went and went over to her and I asked her if she wanted beer. No, I don't drink beer. I thought, oh, well, I won't drink either because that's going to be lonely. Oh. And we got talking and I finally said, you want to dance? Okay. Now, what did you think of me at first?
She had your short haircut, and I wasn't into boys.
She thought I was like this little butch little boy.
And I really was not interested.
She didn't want anything to do with me. So we got dancing, and I kind of wiggled my butt at her a couple of times, and she went,
Oh, wow, that was...
okay. And then we got talking, and she said, well, what ferry are you on? I said, I don't know. What time is it? She goes, well, it's 3:45. I said, when's the next ferry? She goes, I think 4:00. I said, we should probably do that. Okay, let's go. And she picked up all our stuff. I mean, she started picking stuff up, and I looked at everybody and I said, we're leaving. And they all trounced out with Cindy, Denise, Jackie, Gigi, my two friends, me and Jerry. We all went over to the ferry. We get to our bikes. Now I got to get dressed again. Got to pull my shit on, get up. It was like, were getting our boots on, and she came over to say goodbye. So she shook hands with Patricia, shook hands with KB, and then turned to me and said, it was lovely meeting you, and kissed me.
And I got to tell you, Grucci fireworks went off.
Because I kissed her back. I was like, I'm not going to let this moment pass.
Oh, my God.
If I never see her again, this is the moment. And we got done. We looked at each other, and she goes, I said, I want to see you again. She goes, I said, I don't even know where you live. I don't even know your last name. I was like, and she goes, don't worry, I'll find you. I went, oh, okay. So then we followed her. She showed us
how to get to Southern State
or the Expressway or whatever. And off she went. I was like, oh, I'm never going to see her again. I don't even know.
So I get a phone call at the beginning of the week saying, Gigi wants your phone number.
Because I called Cindy and Denise.
I said, give it to her. And
I was not letting this one go.
We talked all that week.
God, we talked for hours.
And we're getting to know each other because we really didn't know each other.
I didn't know her last name.
And I said, why don't you come over for dinner this weekend? And she said, I'm going to Philadelphia.
But I'll be back Sunday.
I said, okay, so come over on Sunday. So she came over on Sunday.
I rode my motorcycle over and I put a bouquet of flowers in my saddlebag and brought them to her because she was making me dinner. And then she made me breakfast.
Well, wait. So
no, that was the next important moment.
So she comes over and I made a stir fry with peanut butter and steak.
Beef. I was like,
peanut butter and steak. It was an Asian recipe.
I was like, whatever.
And I had a couch over there, and
the couch wound around,
and it was one that went all the way around. Mm-hmm. And we were sitting next to each other.
I sat down right next to her. Like I wasn't going to be on the side of the couch. I was like, so.
So,
I think I put my hand on her leg. That kind of freaked her out. I was like,
and we finished dinner and whatnot. And I guess we were sitting on the couch, and I said, "Will you stay tonight?"
Oh, yeah.
She said, "Yes."
And here we are.
So we're in the bedroom. And we're sitting on the bed, and I looked at her and I said, "Do you want children?" And she said, "No. Do you?" I said, "No." And here we are.
We're good.
Now that was in
July.
In September, I proposed. Yeah. And then I said, "No, don't answer me. I wanted her to get to know me first." Came Christmas time, she was here, of course, and we were seeing each other on weekends. I was going into Brooklyn. Never knew where that place was. Now I became really familiar with Brooklyn. And I had my Malamute, that big guy, and he would go, and she had her little black dog and her cat. And we all made nice and got along. And she was here for Christmas. And I took I videoed it.
She had a
I
video
set it
camera.
up.
She had videoed, and I knew there was something
videoed
up.
it. And I handed her
A
ring.
teddy bear.
A teddy bear with a ring,
A teddy bear with a box.
a box.
And it was
It
this
was the ring.
I said yes.
And she said yes. We go upstate to see her sister. Her sister, first thing her sister sees is the ring.
Then he would say hello to me. She goes, "What's the diamond for?"
Oh, boy.
Well, hello to you too. I said, "I'll tell you later." So
And then
we were married in July.
And we got married in July, and we did it on the 3rd because it was going to be a 4-day weekend.
So it was like I said, we dovetailed it into our honeymoon. It was 2 weeks on bikes going down to the Blue Ridge and back, and we ended up at Ramapo with our friends, Cindy and Denise.
Now, I lived in this house. I invited my neighbors, and she had said to me, no
That part of it doesn't need to be
children.
said.
I think it's important for me. Children, to no children. And I said, those kids are my friends.
I relented. I said, fine.
So the kids came too. One woman did our flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else did our wedding cake.
Yeah, it was a very low
There was
key.
only 50 people because we didn't have a lot of money.
It
We
was-
had it at Cindy and Denise's, at Cindy's parents' house, which was up for sale
in
Oh, wow.
Roslyn.
in Roslyn because
So
the parents had gone down to Florida and had the house up for sale.
so Cindy and Denise and Jackie and Giggy
And
Giggy's daughter, Laura.
no, and who lived in the basement?
Well, Lynn Vanderwater,
Lynn
but she
Vanderwater.
wasn't part of it.
Oh, okay.
She lived there, but she
She was
wasn't there.
renting. She was renting.
renting. So we had this lovely 50-person wedding, and
And then we got on our motorcycles the next day and with our camping gear and off we went.
Yeah.
Down to Deal's Gap and back.
our gift to each other was a set of communicators.
Nice.
So they
Because
held-
I said, "You're not marrying me and putting me on a bike and not talking to me all day."
But anyway, that's how we met. That's how we met. And here we
So-
are.
Yeah, so it was just I was determined that to me this was it. I just knew that. Because they say you kiss a lot of frogs, and I found my princess. To me, I'd been through everything. I said, nope, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to convince her, but I think I did a good job because she stuck around.
And what was it that day on Fire Island that shifted for you?
She wiggled her butt in my face when we were dancing.
And I think that
And
caught her attention.
It did. It made me notice her.
Yeah. I just, it was, you had short hair. You put it in your helmet, and I don't ever fuss with it. I sort of kept it.
Yeah.
It's just, but it was kind of butch kind of that moment.
You catch the ferry from Sable.
Yes.
I graduated from Sable High School,
Oh.
and so did my mom.
Oh, wow.
And my grandfather had a commercial fishing boat when he was there. My great grandfather.
Mhm.
They were from Amsterdam, from Holland.
Wow.
He was an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you know the people that ran the ferry?
Yeah, I went to high school with one of the boys, and his family was the ferry service. Stein, last name was Stein.
So had you been to Fire Island?
I started my first time I was in Fire Island. I think I was 5 years old.
Got it. Yeah.
In Cherry Grove.
Yeah. Wow.
Cherry Grove. I was 5 years old.
Not cruising. She wasn't
Right.
making friends. She was 5.
So I knew about Cherry Grove.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. Was your family accepting? What was your family's perception of?
I always knew I had an attraction. I was attracted to women.
Mhm.
I liked men. They were fun. I liked being with them. Maybe that's why my full name is Geraldine, but I wanted to be Jerry because I think I wanted to be a boy because they had all the fun.
Mm-hmm.
They could wear pants to school. I had to wear a dress. Anyway, I didn't really find out until I was in college. I had my first affair with a woman who was a year ahead of me. And when she became going into her senior year, she said to me, I don't want to do this anymore. She was a psych major. I guess she really wasn't. I don't know. I tried to kill myself twice. I wasn't successful because here I am. Because I decided that my life was worth saving. I drank my way through my senior year in high school and college. I graduated. I taught in the high school in the town where she lived with her parents. And then I came back down to Long Island and got a job down here.
You had met Karen, though, right?
Oh, at a summer camp, I met the woman I was with for the next 25 years, Karen. And, you meet somebody when the hormones are racing at that age. She should have left me a lot sooner than she did. But
your parents didn't know you, right? Your parents
no,
really...
I never came out. I never came out to my parents. They figured it out.
After 25 years, they figured it out. Karen's always in the picture.
Did y'all ever have any conversations about it? You and your family? No? It was just this like kind of unspoken...
It was also a different era.
Yeah, totally.
The 60s, 70s.
The thing that you might find interesting concerning the Sirens, which was an all women's motorcycle organization, and all lesbians for the most part that we knew. I came to a meeting one night, and I was there early, and there was a woman sitting there waiting for the meeting to start, and there was really nobody else there. And I went and sat down to make small talk. Now this woman...
Well, it was Leslie. And she was new to us. And she was transitioning.
But we didn't know that.
I kind of knew it.
I didn't.
Jerry had no idea.
Not a clue.
Yeah.
I kind of knew it. And everybody came in, but they could have sat this way.
Nobody wanted to sit near this woman.
And finally, we finally got to know her. She was delightful.
She's married and has children.
She was delightful.
But she was the father of those children.
But at one moment, one of the members said, God, I don't even know what to talk to her about. I can't talk to her about menopause. And the other one looked at her and said, who the fuck wants to talk about menopause? Just talk to her about anything else. It doesn't matter. And she became an officer.
Well, wait.
She was delightful.
First, she wanted to become a member. Cheryl asked to see her license that night. As Gigi said to me later, she wanted to see whether it was an M or a W on.
Because Cheryl, if it had said M yet,
it was a man.
Cheryl wouldn't.
Male.
It wouldn't have been good for her to be.
And when it came time for us to vote whether they were going to have her in the club or not, I said, "How can you turn down somebody who is going through this to become a woman? You can't do that."
Yeah, and they didn't.
She became an officer.
She was a delight. She really was
wonderful. And then she and her wife moved down to Florida.
Yeah, but I said to her wife, I said, Joyce, you became a lesbian through the back door. You know that, don't you? She said, I didn't. But yeah, we
became friends, and I went down to Florida a couple times to visit.
Yeah, she was a good woman. She was very. I don't know. There was something about Leslie that was very commanding.
She also was an Orthodox Jewish woman.
Orthodox Jew, lost everything when she came out. So we didn't have that issue. You wouldn't get to talk to your parents. I didn't get to talk to my parents about it.
Yeah.
But they all kind of knew. Everybody kind of knows.
They knew before we did.
Or they knew, yeah.
Anyway, that's how we met.
When did you come out, and when did you?
I met somebody. I met a guy who was a raging queen, and I loved him dearly. He would take me to the gay bar. It was 1978, so I was 20, and I met this man who, darling guy, and we would go to the bar and we'd dance, and I was terrified because I was new to this, but I knew I needed to be there. I knew that's what I wanted. I didn't know how to get there, and so after a couple of moments being there, a couple of nights, I walked in. He had brought a friend with us, and this girl and I held hands walking in so that I would feel more comfortable. She was straight. She didn't care. And I think the next time we went in, some little 18-year-old walked up to me and said, "You want to dance?" And I said, "Sure." And it started. We just, she was adorable. And I didn't have the conversation with my parents. I just went on to my own life. I just, I was out till 4 a.m. and they'd wake up and this girl would be having breakfast with us. And I never offered any explanation. I just, it was too late to take her home. And some nights I'd go to her house and they'd say, "Where were you?" I was with Tammy, like it was innocent. My father walked in on us once. We were stark ass naked with a little silk sheet over us, laying on a fold out cot. And honey, he's talking to me. I'm like, "What, Daddy? What?" And it didn't occur to me that I'm half on top of this girl passed out, and he's having this whole conversation with me. And he walked out and I went, "Oh shit. Oh no. Oh, well, that cat's out of the bag." But he didn't say anything. He never said a word to me. The one I came out to was my sister. When I wanted her to meet Jerry, I wanted Jerry to be part of the family. And I said, "I need to talk to you." So we got in the car. "What do you want to talk about?" And she's driving. I said, "Well, I've never said this to you, but I wanted you to know that I'm a gay woman." "Oh, well, I won't hold it against you." "Well, thanks, sis." She said, "But Mother always knew." I said, "Really? Why?" She said, "Because none of the men you ever dated were good enough." She didn't like them. "But the girls you brought home, she liked them." I said, "Well, they didn't threaten her. The guys were going to take me away from her. The girls wouldn't. They were my girlfriends. So they weren't, it was different." And since then, it's water under the bridge. That was just her first reaction. And because I'd never said those words to her before. So, now, she liked Jerry. I think she liked Jerry more than she liked me. For the, when I introduced her, they were thick as thieves. Because I think the age difference between us, my sister's in the middle of us. And she felt Jerry was the adult in the relationship. So she gravitated to the adult to let the kid sister. But that was okay. As long as she liked her. I didn't care, So yeah, I wish I could have had the conversation, but it just, Mother asked me right before she died, "So who are you sleeping with?" And I thought, "You're dying. If you reject me, is this what I really want? Do I want you to turn away from me now?" So I said, and it was true, "Nobody, Mom." Right. She knew I was lying to her. But I couldn't bring myself to say, because I thought, I don't want her to reject me at this moment. She's dying. She's got a week left. I don't want that between us. Better we don't discuss it. I didn't, because I didn't know. So, and I do regret that sometimes. I think I wish I had the nerve to do that. I wish I had the time to do that. And I figured she's, oh well, Then my father he kind of checked out at that point. He was just in his 80s. So he kept asking me, "Did you ever get married?" "No, Daddy." "Why not?" Finally, I said, "I couldn't find anyone as good as you." Oh, then one night, Jerry's in the room. He's in the hospital, and we're sitting there, and he goes, "You know what you got to do?" I said, "What, Daddy?" "You got to find yourself a blonde, and she'll take good care of you. A blonde with money." And I looked over at Jerry, and she had blonde streaks in her hair. And I went, that's great advice, Daddy. I think I'll do that. And my sister was like, "Oh my God. I can't believe he said that." I said, "Well, why shouldn't he? Wants me taken care of." And he knows it has got to be a woman. Then she said, "Why don't you just tell him you got married?" I said, "Because then I'd have to bring children and husband into it. And he's not going to remember. He's asking me every 10 minutes. I can't lie. I can't do that. I can't perpetuate this." Oh, well, But he knew, I think, in the end. I think he was pretty wise to it. But different generation. Not going to say anything.
Next question.
Yeah. Let's see. How long, I'm going to skip that line. What was your first impression of the Sirens Motorcycle Club?
I felt that's where I belonged. I felt I could be part of this group without any problem. They rode motorcycles and they were women. And it gave me a sense of independence and strength and bondage, being bound and having people like me around me.
It was family. I mean, Jackie and Gigi took me in under their wing. And, everybody else was fun. And it was a safe space. It was safe people to be around. We laughed. We rode motorcycles together. We had parties. I had very few friends in New York that I partied with, that I hung out with. And this became it. This was our family. And then when we were together, we were a group. We were a core. There were 6 or 8 of us that everybody else revolved around. We just did everything we had. We did all the jobs, all the positions. We ran things. We did things. We had fun. It was like family, And it's this once a siren, always a siren thing.
Yeah.
So it was my New York family.
I mean, here I am in Huntington, and they're having a gay pride parade a couple of years ago down in Huntington, the village. Oh, we had to go. So we go down. Now, I have a little mobility scooter because I have a bad
Were
knee.
you here for that? Did you do that at Huntington Pride?
No, but I heard it was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're waiting because we're at the very end where they have to make the turn and then they're going to park and go into the park. So I'm hanging out with 2 other people and Gigi, and I'm on my scooterino. And I said, well, there's a hill that goes down a little bit. Maybe they're down by the hill. Let me go down and check it out. So I go down. There's nobody there yet. So I ride all the way down Main Street and into the parking lot where they gathered together. And there were about 5 or 6 motorcycles in there. And of course, I had my Sirens jacket on with the colors. And
Jen
was in the back, and she said, get up there. And I said, so I get in front of the Sirens. I get in front of this group on my scooterino, my little thing, and the parade starts.
And off she goes.
And off I go, and I'm leading the Sirens and leading the gay pride parade.
It's a great picture of her and all the Sirens, all the motorcycles behind her, just going down Main Street.
Oh my gosh.
How did that feel?
I just laughed the whole way down. I did little loops and everything. I'm thinking, oh my God, it's like being a mouse with a tremendous bunch of cows behind you chasing you. And I'm this little mouse. And it was just, I had to laugh. And then we get up to the top and I pulled off with our group, our few people, we'd see Gigi, and they went down and parked. But it was just funny. I just laughed the whole way up, waved and laughed. And, it was fun. I couldn't believe that happened.
What has being a part of the Sirens taught you?
Strength. It's taught me strength. And that people can like you no matter who you are. And it's really not about your color, your upbringing, or anything else. It's about who you are in the core. And they find this about people. What's their core? When I used to hear comments that were very racial, I said to them, okay, here's the deal. You and I are going into this toy store and we're going to buy a toy. We each buy the same toy. It's a present for somebody. I said, we each buy exactly the same toy. I said, you go home and wrap yours up. I go home and wrap mine. I said, we go to the party. We give them their toys and they're prepped. I said, they open mine and they open yours. I said, they looked like two different things because they were different wrappings. I said, but it was exactly the same inside. I said, people are the same way. I said, we have our outside, but it doesn't matter because inside, we're still who we are. We're people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's important, not color.
I loved what you were talking about earlier, too, with Leslie and how you were standing up for Leslie in the group and saying she's as much as a woman as anyone else here.
That's correct. And she was fighting to be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
She was a school teacher in Manhattan or in New York City public schools.
Yeah. Darling, I wish you could have met her. She was lovely. She really
a
was
lovely woman.
She was very, very opinionated and there are moments we were out with her and we're having dinner and she's being Leslie and Leslie being almost, I don't know, her voice was as deep as mine at times. And then the guy would come over and say, what do you want? She'd go, oh, I want. And she'd change her tone completely to talk to him. And I'd be like, what the hell was that about? But she was darling. She was really a lovely woman.
What else connected Leslie and I was we each had a parrot.
The same exact parrot.
I had an Amazon, and she had an Amazon. She also had a macaw. So we got along great.
What has being a siren taught you?
Well, I think it was about friendship, you know, and what people do for each other. We did a lot for each other. I mean, there wasn't one moment if we needed something, someone was going to step up, you know, and it all was about taking care of each other and being bonded sisters. There's a sisterhood, really. You know, we were early on, everybody had rat bikes. I mean, they were all duct taped and they were scratched and they were dented and they worked. Maybe we had one girl who had a pink Harley, pink Sportster, and that bloody thing died more than it ran.
That was before my time.
It was before her. It was the year before she showed up. But we would take her on a ride, and invariably we'd stop for gas, and we'd spend 25 minutes getting the Harley going again. But none of us really minded because she was part of us, you know. And if no siren left behind, somebody boo-booed or somebody ran out of gas, we didn't just give them a quarter and say, you know, we'll see you later. We stayed, you know, as much as we could. We stayed. We made sure they were taken care of. It taught me a lot about friendship, you know, and sisterhood, and gave me a sense of, you know, right and wrong with friends, you know. So, and those women, I'm bonded with those women. We really were just, you know, we could pick up the phone after 2 years. We didn't see Jackie and Gigi for 4 years. We sat down with them like we never stopped, you know, which is we'd start back up again. It was just, it's perfect, you know.
Yeah. Did being a part of the Sirens connect you with more lesbian community as well?
Well, we met everybody at Pride. You know, more people than you care to know. I mean, we met a lot of people at Pride. We saw a lot of people. We never met many that were on Long Island, so we really didn't.
We were on a ride for a weekend on one of these things that we did up in upstate New York, and there were some women there from California, from San Francisco, and we got chatting with them. And I said, well, what do you guys do? And one of them said, well, I'm a nurse. I said, oh, I know a nurse in San Francisco.
She was a siren.
No, she wasn't. Oh,
the one in San Francisco was.
The woman I was talking to was a siren, San Francisco siren at the time. And I said, oh, she actually, the woman that I knew had been one of my students. Oh. And she said, she looked at me and she said, oh, we work together.
So, I mean, it's like 3,000 miles apart. And we got asked by another at another point, we met some gay women at a rally, and they were lovely women. And then we were at another rally, and one of the guys said to us, "Oh, do you know Dixie?" He figured out we were gay. There were like 4 of us that were wandering around, and we were gay women. He said, "Do you guys know Dixie and Judy?" I'm like, "Yes, we know Dixie and Judy." Like, he met them in like Oregon, and he figured we all just knew each other, but we did. And he was like, "Oh." Like, we all just slept together, and we're the 6 lesbians in the world. Like, of course we knew Dixie and Judy. Yeah, we knew Dixie and Judy. So it's a very small
But
community.
they weren't sirens.
No, but they were just gay women that
we met at rallies.
And this guy was like, "So you must know Dixie and Judy." Like, so, but yeah, I think meeting everybody at Pride, we sort of met people, but we didn't really like become BFFs.
Mm-hmm.
We met them. We see them every year.
Yeah.
Every year we saw the Boston group. Every year we saw the people from upstate.
But what I found interesting was when my ex and I bought this house, it's a court. It's a very close group. And we were accepted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids grew up, and they'd wait for me. They'd be lined up on the front lawn when I drove home, and they'd help me bring the groceries in. And then I had freezy pops in the freezer, so everybody would get a freezy pop. We would sit on the porch, and I'd say, "How was your day?" And the kids would tell me about their day and how it was. And one of the fathers said to me one day, he sat down for dinner, and his son said to him, "How was your day?" And I'm still friends with those families.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was never a question when I came in here.
No.
They're like, they catered our wedding just about. I mean, they were happy
did.
to help. They did our cake, they did our flowers.
And the kids came to the wedding.
But yeah, I think the general lesbian community, we didn't go out. We never went to the discos. We didn't go to the bars.
I did it when I was solo.
When she did
in that 2 years.
Yeah, she did it when she was single, but I
ran into one of my students at one of these bars.
How did that go?
I was going upstairs and dropped off my coat, and I was coming back down the stairs, and she was coming up the stairs, and she looked at me and went, and I looked at her and I smiled and I said, "We're everywhere." I said, "Where are you right now?" She said, "Well, I'm with my friends down there." I said, "I'm going to come down there. I'm going to find you, and we're going to dance."
I have chills after the "We Are Everywhere." It's beautiful.
The girl from California, she was here. When she was here, she wanted to talk to me. So I had her in my office after class. I said, "What's up?" She said, "I'm going to tell you something, and you're not going to talk to me for the rest of my life." And I said, "What?" And she said she was gay. And I didn't say anything. I just looked at her and I said, "That's it?" And she looked at me. I said, she was going into high school because I was junior high. She was going to go into the high school. And I said to her, "Have you told your parents?" She said, "No." "My father will kill me." I said, "Have you said anything to your friends?" And she said, "No." I said, "If you say something," because it was not acceptable. I said, "If you say anything at this point, the next 4 years are going to be brutal for you." I said, "Once you get out of here, it's a bigger world out there. And you'll find where you belong."
It's amazing that she had you.
Well, and fast forward a lot of years, 1992, we went to the March on Washington. Jerry's got to leave. We went to the March on Washington with a group here on Long Island. She'll be back. She'll be right back. She had to get a book.
Oh, okay, good. Perfect.
And we're going through the mall. Now, the mall had 1 million people on it. Virtually 1 million people. We were waiting. Martina Navratilova was talking. And Jerry looked over, and a girl said,
She started to smile and turned to her friends.
And let's see if we can find it.
I can show you exactly where it is.
Jerry. But anyway, it was that girl. It was the girl, and she grabbed Jerry and said,
There's two of us hugging.
the only two people on the mall.
That's us.
The only two people on the wall that were touching
Everybody else is looking.
and listening to Martina.
Oh.
And that was my student, former student, and me.
We met her on the Bloody Mall in Washington. She saw Jerry, and Jerry was hugging Jerry.
And I said to her, Donna, you can let go now. And she said, I've been waiting years to do this.
So it's a very small world.
Mm-hmm.
Of 1 million people, that's who we find.
Yep.
Was that woman?
1 million strong. The 1993 March on Washington for
Yep.
lesbian, gay, and bi equal rights.
They had the AIDS quilt
Mm.
in Washington.
Yeah, these are great images. And I love that moment is captured here.
They took the picture at that moment, which was so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all listening to Martina.
Right. Wow.
And I had no idea that somebody had taken the picture.
We didn't know until this came out.
What's that?
Mhm.
Until I bought a copy of it. And when I started looking for it, I said, oh my God.
There we are.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was kind of cool.
We've got married 3 times.
3 times. She offered a 4th. I went, no, we're good.
The first time we couldn't get married because it wasn't acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm going to the
Unitarians.
Unitarians because they'll marry anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a Holy Union ceremony. That's what we had with all the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
10 years went by, and Gigi said, let's go up to Vermont. And
They're now offering
a legal
we could get legally married in Vermont.
in Vermont with a justice of the peace. Well,
Civil union.
the whole
We could have a civil union.
Mm-hmm.
the whole Sirens came up. We had to rent the motel.
I was running the club,
Mm-hmm.
and we mentioned that we were going to Bennington, and we were going to get married and have a justice of the peace. And somewhere in that conversation, Jerry turned to Helene or somebody and said, so if you want to come with us, well, that meant 8 couples showed up. I mean, like I said, Jerry, we're going to have to feed them. We can't just have them come up to watch the signing and say bye.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up renting out the whole motel and having the ceremony there. And then it was just so funny because my sister came, her brother, his wife, friends of mine came up from Philadelphia, friends came up from upstate, and all our Siren friends. I mean, there was like 8 motorcycles, and it rained the whole way up there.
Mm.
And they got changed and came down to the dinner, honestly looking like they looked fabulous. I don't know how they did it. Yeah, that was number 2, thinking that we were, because we could.
And then 10 years went by, and it became legal in the United States. And Gigi said, quick, before they change their mind.
No, it was New York. It was New York. It was in 2011.
Yeah.
So
I said,
we went
"We
down
gotta
to
do it now."
We went down to town hall. I applied for a marriage certificate, marriage
Right.
license, and we made an arrangements with the town clerk, and it happened in town hall. And some of the neighbors
Yeah, the neighbors showed up.
who were there for the first one
Yeah.
showed
Sure.
up.
Yeah.
And her father said, you have nobody to take you down the aisle. I'll take you both down the aisle.
So this guy he was a great guy. He didn't live there, but he'd come over a lot.
Yeah.
He offered to walk us both down there,
And he did.
and he did.
And we got married.
So when they did 2015, it became, I said, we're
Federal,
done.
yeah.
We're done. Not doing it again.
No
Sorry.
more.
No, 4, no. We're sticking with 3. Don't take it personally, but we're sticking with 3.
Yeah.
I think we're done.
I
So,
love
yeah.
that. I love that. Well, as we're reaching time, I have one last question for you both. If you have any advice to give to a younger Siren or a newer Siren, what would it be?
Wear high-vis gear. And don't be in a rush. It's a ride, not a race. And you'll get there.
I would say that, but I would say make the most of the sirens. Don't just be peripheral. You know, stick with them. Do something with them. Be part of them. It'll be a great experience. Good, bad, or indifferent, you're still committing to something and you want to make it work. You know, you got to put in the work and you'll get it back because you'll become part of something. You know, it's really about being part of a thing, you know, and yeah, I think that's really it. I mean, yes, be safe, take every course you could possibly take, you know, wear your high vis. Don't be in a rush to be in the middle of the pack, you know, and learn from people because those women have a lot to teach you.
You make safety your priority. And if you have the slightest inkling this is not going to be safe, you don't do it.
Listen to your gut. You know, when we, right after we lost Sharon, we did a ride probably the next month. And one of our other members, Armanda, who has since passed, she got there. We were reading on the Palisades. And she got there and she said, gee, I don't really think I should be here. I said, then go home. Go home. I'm not going to make you ride. You shouldn't have gotten this far. You should have just bailed. If your gut says no, listen to your gut. Because that's what you got going for you. That's your radar. You know, Don't do it just because, you know, and enjoy the club. That's what it's there for. You know, and you all are doing so many wonderful things. You have social media. You have so much we didn't have. You know, I mean, we thought it was a big deal when we got to go on Dyke TV.
Yeah.
And we got to go on Jenny, whatever it was, or one of the other television shows. Jackie all dressed up and went and sat in the lobby. And I have a picture of me somewhere sitting with Linda Reed. We were on Dyke TV. We thought that was really big. We were at the moment when lesbians were like the new topic. So, and doing gay games, doing Yankee Stadium, riding our motorcycles in Yankee Stadium. You know, that was not small change. That was big. It was big for us, you know, and doing Pride every year. You guys have got it 10 times more than we do because you're so much more involved. I mean, if we could have hooked up with the breast milk people, then we would have, but we didn't have the contact. We were too busy trying to get grassroots stuff done with us. You know, we just thought we were the best in the world, that we were leading Pride. Have you ever been in the front row of Pride? It's possibly one of the greatest experiences of your life. I mean, I've always said this, we were the parade. And they let us know that. It was so enormously overwhelming and so empowering because they saw us and here's the parade, you know? Yeah, that's why I say, just take advantage of the club and use it and be part of it.
Great advice. You finding something?
Well, when this is over, I'll show you this.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for your time today and for these interviews. It's so moving, and I love this time that we get to share together. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for listening.
Thank you
for asking.
listening and asking.